Greetings all who roam this world, and welcome to this episode of Side Quest, a Quest Bros podcast. This episode is a little bit different than normal. Quest Bros had such a great conversation reflecting on all of our Improv D&D performances in 2024 that we decided to split it into two parts. So, we hope you enjoy our Improv D&D 2024 reflection.
Greetings all who roam this world. We are the
Greetings
Quest
all
Bros,
roam this
bringing
world.
you another
Bringing you another Side Quest
podcast.
podcast. And Jared likes...
Go on.
It is the Side Quest podcast.
Jared likes Asian girls.
That's facts.
The podcast where we just talk about whatever.
I mean...
Who doesn't? Yeah, I know. I understand, Jared.
But you know, this time we do have something to talk about for once.
For once, we always talk about stuff.
Oh yeah, but like
We have too much to talk
This
about.
episode is a full topic and has come with questions and preparation and thought behind it.
So this is nothing like a side quest podcast.
So this is a side quest.
This is
quest.
the main quest.
Side quest.
This is-
We're already on a side quest.
No. This is a special side quest with bonus.
Man,
And
we're
Knuckles.
not. Our descriptions are not helping.
No,
and are
no.
not
Featuring
consistent.
Dante from Devil May Cry.
So what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to be reflecting over Improv D&D from all of our 2024 performances. We've done a lot of performances this year. This is actually the most performances we've done ever in one year. The most amount of shows, most amount of performances, most amount of people we've reached. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of reflect on it, talk about what went well, what didn't go well, just some of our favorite moments, and just kind of reflect on the whole thing. I think also our audience, a lot of our followers enjoy Improv D&D, have followed us because of Improv D&D, and I think they'd like to see kind of the process that goes behind it and maybe what we go through at least for it.
It's a lot. The end.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
In the spirit of improv, we make all this shit up.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I've got questions. That's it.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
So
It's been over a minute. We can swear.
we've got all five of us. Matthew's here. He just hasn't said anything.
No, he's looking at guns.
Yeah. And we'll not
And by
say
that, I mean my muscles. Boom, boom,
Fire
power.
So, to do an overview, if you haven't seen on our social media, I did make a graphic that kind of posted our stats from 2024. So this year we did 5 cons, which is the most we've ever done. We usually only do 2.
Rough.
Yes.
And the way we got there, too, I remember our meeting at the end of 23.
Thank you, Michael.
We were just like, hey, what if we throw shit at the wall? We'll see what sticks. We broke the wall.
Yeah,
Michael.
everything.
You're welcome, everyone.
Everyone
We made out a
accepted
great
us.
year.
Michael goes, we should just try and get accepted to every con we can. And Anthony's like, all right, I'll see what I can do.
We're not going to get accepted to all
Hey.
of them.
Anthony sends out a bunch of emails, and then all of a sudden they all responded, yeah, we would love to have you guys.
And we're like,
and,
oh,
and-
gosh,
and
shit.
Anthony was like,
We can't say
"Oh,
no."
they're gonna be so mad.
And the thing, too, is like these weren't like little itty bitty cons either. These were all big ass, like big following, huge cons.
Fan Expo, C2E2, Gen Con,
And Anime Milwaukee.
Well,
Anime
no,
Milwaukee.
No pain, no gain, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, those were the 5 cons we did this year. Did you say ASEN? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did 5 cons total. Anime Milwaukee was our highest performing con. Second was Anime Central. Third was Fan Expo Chicago, and then Gen Con and C2E2 tied. But total, then we did 9 shows over the 5 cons. All of them had 2 shows per con, except C2E2, which only had 1. Totaling 13 hours of Improv D&D.
Woo! That's a full days of work.
That's basically 1.5 of the extended edition of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Shut
Jared,
up.
what the
God.
Why? Every
I'm
conversation
glad the
you
one
sneak
person
in
who's
the
gonna know
extended Lord of the
like
Rings
understand
trilogy.
that, appreciated that joke.
Someone in the comments, I get it.
And we had an average of 175 people per show, but we estimated reached a total of 1,591 people, which is insane to think about.
Also, can I just say, that infographic that you did, very nice. I showed it to my dad, and he was very impressed because he's a big numbers guy.
For whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
I did get compliments too. We got Ron, who does the Icon Gaming, or like the Smash tournaments at
Yeah,
conventions
yeah.
we go to. I saw him at the convention in Madison a couple weekends ago. and I was talking with him, catching up with him, and he was really impressed by that graphic too. He said he was really happy for us too, and just very not grateful, but yeah, just very impressed and just happy just to see the progress we've made and everything. Especially because we've known him since he started like his business, and he's kind of known us since we've started doing this. So we're both seeing each other grow, and it's really cool. He says hi to everyone.
Oh,
Oh,
that's nice.
hi.
He was asking, he's like, "Don't you have like usually
Hello.
like 5 guys with you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's just
Yeah, it's just you at the in Madison.
All right, so for our first question that I want to ask is overall highlights of the year. Kind of what was your favorite things, shows, performances, anything that happened from at any point. Just for viewers who may or may not know, myself, Dan, and Jared, all 3 of us were at all 5 of the cons, and then Matt and Michael, they were only at Anime Milwaukee and Fan Expo.
I will say, in terms of crowd to people up front interaction, the 7 one was probably our most
Anime Centrals
was the best one. Oh yeah,
I think that was Saturday's Anime Central.
yeah, that one was probably our best show of the. I don't want to say of the year, but yeah, of the year.
Yeah, no, in my opinion too, that was I think our best show that we had. It was the crowd interaction was great, and it was a fun episode, I guess to call it. The story was engaging. The fact too when Dan's like, if we can get another chair up here, we'll do it. And people were throwing chairs.
People were like, "I will stand. I don't care."
Yeah, like it was literally like chaos. And also that room was full too. Not as full as Saturday's Anime Milwaukee, but I think that one was more full. But
it's hard to compare the sizes.
Yeah, the rooms are completely different convention centers. But
Yeah, it's not about the size, it's about how it was used.
exactly, yes, and we used it very well.
We used it very well.
It's about the mirth of the girth.
Jeez. Cut that out.
No,
But then, what are some other people's highlights or their favorite moments?
A lot of my favorite moments are when like the people come up afterwards,
Right.
from other shows. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I was here at this show," and one in particular, people from Anime Central came up and they're like, "You probably don't even remember us," and me and Anthony were like,
You're the toe queen.
Coconuts! Yeah.
Return to the Queen.
And it's like, no, we do. I'm like, I don't remember them like exactly how they happened, how they were, exactly what we did, but I do like remember the faces of the people that were on stage.
Yeah, especially the people on stage.
Yeah, for sure the people on stage, or even some of the people that are like very interactive in the crowd. I still remember their faces.
Correct.
Yeah.
And just the appreciation everyone has coming up afterwards, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you did so great. Oh my gosh, you guys are so amazing." And some of them are like, "I don't think I could ever do that." And then I'm always like, "No, like you definitely like
Look, we can do it.
We have no training. We're
Yeah.
just dudes on stage doing it.
And I think that's something that like I always like to really push. Like everyone can do this. I've had people come up and they're like, "Oh, you must have been doing this for years." I'm like, "Yeah, kinda." They're like, "Were you like a theater kid, blah blah blah?" And I was like, "No, God, no."
And you know, that's the
funny
crazy
thing is,
part.
the
Yeah,
two
no.
kids who were in theater technically don't even like fully host it. You MC, and I just pick people from a crowd.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we'll talk more about the history and like kind of the whole evolution of it later, but it is crazy just to see, it's like anyone can do this. I guess we're just lucky that we did it when we did.
Yes.
Because I think we also did jump on it at a time when D&D really was starting to take off. And we got lucky that way.
I also one other moment that came to mind that was kind of heartwarming, where we had people come up at Gen Con. There was the mother and her daughter that came up, and it's like, "Oh my God, we were there for I think
they were at Anime Central.
Yes, they were at Central and they saw us, and they're like, as soon as we found out, she's like, "Okay," like she turns to her daughter, it's like, "What do you want to do for us?" It's like,
Improv D&D.
Oh
Improv
my
D&D.
gosh.
That's
So-
the first thing we bought tickets for. And
My-
it's like, oh my God.
My heart basically melted because the mom comes up and she's like, my daughter's too shy to talk to you guys, but she's really a big fan.
And I was like, we're just dudes.
It's the
We're
wildest
just a couple
thing.
of schmucks
Yeah.
that like have a camera and just make funny
No,
jokes.
it's
But
always
no,
so
I-
heartwarming.
I
when somebody
really
comes up to talk to
appreciated
us.
that, and like the mom was great, the daughter was great. We ended up getting her to come over and talk and everything, but they're just great people, and that's just like it's funny that you brought that up because that's probably my favorite part in Gen Con in its entirety.
It's just the interacting with the people.
Yeah.
And, that memorization. Yeah.
Yeah, that interaction alone was probably like my favorite part.
And that's something I always try to push, especially at the end of our shows too, is like telling everyone else, like, if you see us, come say hi to us, come talk to us. So anyone listening right now, if you see us, come talk to us, come hang out with us. We're not doing anything anyway.
At conventions.
Yeah.
At
Yes, at
conventions, we have to stipulate.
Well,
But like we're just chill people. Like we love to talk to you guys. We love to say hi and hear your stories.
Yeah.
and we've definitely had people come up and be like, "Can we take pictures? Can we do this? Can we do that?"
Tell the story about the Ren Fair.
I was just about to. I was
Yeah,
like,
okay.
I knew that was coming.
I was like,
Because I
so
have a story to follow up.
so me and Michael, we went up to a brat booth at the Renaissance Fair, and the lady taking our order was like, "Hey, out of curiosity,
Weird question.
quick question. Did you guys host like an improv D&D panel?"
We just lose it instantly. I'm
Because
like
at the Ren Fair,
laughing.
At
all
Anime
people.
Central. Yeah.
So out of nowhere.
Out of
Not
nowhere,
the place
out of
I
left
would have
field.
expected to hear somebody
Um,
say that ever.
Yeah, no, took me by complete surprise. Probably made my entire day.
Oh, it did.
It for sure did.
100%.
And I still to this day, I'm like, thank God Michael was there.
Yeah, because no one would have believed
me.
it. Not at all. I would have
Um,
called BS if he told me that the brat chick like just knew him from D&D Improv. It's just wild.
Because she was friends with one of our
She was
Patreons.
friends
Yes.
with
And
Eggman.
that in and
yeah.
of itself was such a weird
Weird,
coincidence.
small world. And he was like, I messaged him in the Discord like, hey, your friend who's working the brat stand, and he was like, oh yeah, they do that. And then I was like,
They do that.
wild. I'm
Yeah.
like, what a weird sort of happy little accident.
I mean, it was
Right.
bound to happen with like.
So I have an experience too then. So you guys went to the Ren Fair without me because I was sick with
yeah, you
COVID.
were hella sick.
And then a couple of weeks later, I went to that convention in Madison, more just to check it out, and I was also going as a birthday gift for Kelly's brother. It was very, very small. Like, it was like the entire convention was in one room.
Yeah, I saw your videos on Instagram.
Yeah.
Check that out.
And when I was there, I was walking around, and one person comes up to me, and they're like, hey, excuse me. No, actually, it wasn't even, hey, excuse me. They kind of like, almost like bumped into me, and they're like, oh my God. You host Improv D&D, and I was like, yeah. I saw you at Fan Expo, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. She's like, can I get a photo with you? And I was like,
Wow, sure.
And Kelly as my witness, and I was like, I felt bad because I didn't get her name. I didn't tell her. I was like, hey, if you post it, tag the Quest Bros in it. But I was in such like a shock moment that like,
sure.
somebody asked to take my photo with them because of being a part of Quest Bros and Improv D&D.
If that was you, post in the comments.
Yes, if that's you, please say something. That was just such a surreal moment.
Yeah,
and I know
it's pretty wild.
I had just like it's like we were like winding down one night. I had asked you guys. I was like, at what moment do you think we've made it? Like, what is your aha moment that's like, wow, I think we really made it? And for me, it was being recognized outside, just in the wild, for doing that.
Yeah, and well, like now I'm like, holy crap, that happened way sooner than I thought it was going
Well,
to.
I
twice
told you guys
within
it was
the
our
same, like,
golden
2
year,
weeks.
and it was kind of our golden year.
Yeah.
Well, like, and it's been happening kind of like, so like we go to the conventions. I've been asked to take multiple photos after these improv things. Multiple
Yeah, after the
times.
shows it happens, and that's fine. That's why it's like when it's after that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
like
like randomly out in
Yeah.
the wild where you were not expecting it at
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
It's like, I'm just trying to get
And the thing is too is like, yeah, because we weren't hosting improv at the at that Madison convention. Also, this was a different state and a different city too.
Right.
And at least
yeah,
like the Ren Fair is like
completely-
closer to Chicago, somewhat makes sense. But this was completely different. So not.
Well, and it's
Right.
wild because like we hear me and Anthony, we've been like we were hanging out a lot at the not Gen Con, was it, with Robin's Nerds?
Yeah, it was Gen Con.
Gen Con, where we went to their panel.
Yep.
Yeah, so we went to Gen Con, and at there, they were telling us how, like, some people have come up to them in their booth, and we're like, oh, like, at these conventions? She's like, no, at the one in Colorado or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? We don't know anybody out there. That's wild.
Oh, and then at C2E2, when we were going to see Kelsey and the Robin's Nerd Supply booth, and we get there and we're like, oh, like how things been going? Because it was like the first time we really like saw her and got to interact with her since we accepted the sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we were there and talking to her, there's a dude like at the booth around the corner checking stuff out, and he's like, oh, I heard about your booth, Robin's Nerd Supplies, from the Quest Bros. And then he looks over at us. And he's like,
Holy
you're the
crap,
Quest Bros.
you're the Quest Bros.
And we all literally like turned around. It's like, that's
We're like-
us, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, and it's like that's we're the guys.
I literally was just like, oh my fucking God, this
It's
is
like,
so...
what are the odds?
I was like, this is so embarrassing, because the dude's like, oh, hi. They're the guys!
He literally did a double take. He was just like, hey,
what?
Yeah, because at first, like, he came up, because we were talking to her, and he came up between us to, like, get her attention. He was like, hey, I'm looking at these dice. I heard about you guys from Quest Bros. And Kelsey, like, looks over at us and looks back to him. And he's like, oh, sorry. And he, like, looked. And then he stopped and he came. He's like, you're the guy. They're the guys.
and we looked at
It
him,
was like-
and he looked at
it
us.
was like, dude.
And we looked at him.
And it's like we're not celebrities by any means.
No.
But
God,
like,
no.
but like, is this the start? This is the start of it, and it's such a surreal moment that I never really anticipated us getting to. And I mean, yeah, this is very much just a drop, a taste of the taste of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll
But
wait
it's
for
crazy. On all three of these instances happened this year,
Yeah.
when it was our biggest year.
Right.
And now, I mean, the YouTube channel, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and it's like, as it keeps growing, it's
Like,
kind of
shoot for 40.
cool just to see how it continues to evolve like that. With
Wow.
with the people, with the audience, with the conventions.
And it's really weird to see, like everyone has their own, like, way in. Some people start YouTube or Twitch and they become really popular overnight on YouTube or Twitch, and that's what they do. Whereas, like, we started with YouTube and we didn't become popular overnight, but then we started doing these conventions, and now we've gotten, like, a separate, different kind of popularity that's not online. It's very much via the conventions. Like, people that go to the conventions, enjoy the conventions, have fun at the conventions, they know of improv, word of mouth, or they've been to our show. And it's
Right.
weird how many people have, like, gone to our show
There were a couple.
somewhere.
There were a couple people at C2E2 that just went to C2E2 because we were there.
Which that's another prospect, is like that's starting to become a thing where some people are explicitly going to the conventions.
Yeah,
For
and
us.
it's like cool.
For
Like it's like, yeah, I want to go to C2E2. And if I don't go, wait, Quest Bros and Improv D&D, are you gonna be there?
Sign me
yeah,
up.
I'm gonna go now.
What I find hilarious is the process of how we got into doing panels at conventions. Usually when YouTubers do this, they start out small, then they grow their audience, and then
they do.
then they get invited to
We
panels.
kind of did it the other way.
We did it the other way around.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get back into that. So let's go on to this next question, which is, well, Matthew, did you have any highlights? What was your favorite part? What was your favorite, at least, of Fan Expo or
Man,
Anime
really
Milwaukee?
putting this
He's
dude
like,
on the spot. You like asking
on,
him
man.
like,
Tell us.
can
Tell
you
us.
answer this quick math question
Tell
for
us.
us? in front
Anime
of the
Milwaukee
class?
or Fan Expo? Which one did you enjoy more? I'll keep it simple like that.
There we go.
I can't even remember.
Oh,
So Anime Milwaukee was the one when it was the Quick Trip Radio Shack
Okay.
was on the Saturday, and then Friday was the better show. That one even has more views. When it was Enter the Sex Dungeon and they tried to kick Dan out from being the DM,
the final
I
boss
think I
was
vaguely
gone.
recall that one.
and then the Fan Expo ones this year were the Doofenshmirtz versus Jack Black, and
Oh,
then
wild.
the femboy. It wasn't the femboy Hooters. It was just regular Hooters.
Yes.
And they were running a family business out of it.
I like the Doofenshmirtz one. When we get people up there who actually commit to the bit.
The bit, yeah,
Yeah.
no, that is really good. Yeah, we've had a couple of people, especially I think almost each con we had something.
There was the fan expo where the guy who's dressed up as not Spritle, Russell from Up.
from Up.
Yeah.
That
And
one
he-
was a favorite
he
of
just-
mine.
He
that
just
guy was
committed
so
to the
chill.
Scottish accent the
I was gonna
whole
say
way
that.
through.
Well, I started telling people, it's like up on stage when they're auditioning, I'd be like, all right, you better do that now the whole time. Because if you're going to get up here because of that voice, you got to commit
Well,
to it.
the thing
then.
is, most people
Yeah.
aren't confident enough to do that kind of voice
Yeah.
unless they're confident that they can do it for the whole. Because I don't think there's been a person that's done a voice that hasn't
done it the whole
Yeah,
time.
correct,
No,
correct.
not a single one.
And it helps too that it's like they're only doing it's one your turn, you do your voice, cool. Now you got
Correct,
3 turns
right.
to wait and rest it.
And if you want to throw in something funny, you can.
Yeah.
So that does, like, the next point is, like, challenges faced, and that does actually kind of bring up part of the challenging part of actually improving / hosting it on my end is when do you interject, right?
Right.
When do you move it
When do
along?
you say no?
Yeah.
When do you move it along? When
Yeah.
when are
when
you
do
like
reel him back? When
Yeah.
do you gas him up?
exactly?
How long do you let them go for?
Correct.
Because Gen Con is a good example where the villain, she had her bit, and she kept going and going, but it was still funny, and it was very tasteful. And that was one thing that was at least good about Gen Con. They all knew how to tell stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were all experienced in some way.
The problem with Gen Con, I'm not sure.
Go for it.
I was gonna say the problem with Gen Con was they didn't want to tell the stories. Like it was like pulling teeth out trying to
Yeah.
get people to come up. It was awful.
Yeah, but then like kind of going back to Dan's point, it's like when do you interject? It's like Gen Con was a tough example because they almost ran the Friday show. They almost ran that themselves.
Yeah, I even made jokes about like, wow, you guys don't even fucking need me here. You guys are like plenty entertaining enough. There was someone that went up who like rhymed everything they did.
Yes.
Everything.
Hit it.
And then by the end
Man
of the
was a
show,
fae.
everyone was doing it.
including me. I was like, everyone was rhyming by the end of the show. And I was like, man, this person did it the entire time, and they were quick with it. They were like, boom, an entire sentence.
And it made sense.
And it made sense. And I was like, this person is just more talented than I am. Like, and I said that. I was like, they're just more talented than me. I was like, that's wild.
I think
I'm like,
the thing was you incentivized it because you were like, if you actually do a full rhyme scheme,
yeah.
you get advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time your
And-
sentence rhymes and makes sense, you get advantage.
Yep.
And everyone was like, shit, I should do that.
Yeah. So then they did, and we gave them advantage.
Yeah. It's like, well, you did it. Go.
Yeah. But then, okay, so then the opposite. So that was a good way of the party taking it over. A bad example was Fan Expo's Friday show, the 18+ show, where
Yikes.
it completely got away, and it's like I wouldn't say completely got away.
Yeah,
I would.
Okay, it got away, and it was like
It was a train wreck that jumped tracks.
I even made the joke that this is the first time ever I think the party had, in a way, beaten the DM because it had just gotten away from me, and there was no way for me to pull it in and like slow down what they were trying to do without me looking bad.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
very difficult to run.
I was like, everyone was very much enjoying it, and I was only getting in the way of the enjoyment whenever I tried to move the plot along. They were very much there for the bickering, the bullshitting, the sex. And I was like,
That's pretty much
wow,
half the
this
D&D
is
campaigns.
rough. So very quickly I had to realize, like, all right, I just have to do like,
Grit my teeth and just get through it.
yeah.
you're adding just filler in between.
Well,
Yeah,
and
exactly. I
ultimately,
very much
sometimes-
had to just filler through.
Sometimes that is just the answer, though, is to just ride the wave.
Yeah, and as long as the audience is enjoying it still,
And that's really
That's
our
the main
penultimate goal
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
for the audience to enjoy it. So
Yeah.
if the audience is really enjoying 1 hour of rock themed jokes, we just gotta
me.
fucking let it
Oh
ride.
my god, the rocks.
The rock
remember that,
incident.
too. I
Go
thought that
find
was
the rock
funny.
incident.
or the toes. Like, why? Like, an entire session can be revolving around like one thing. it makes it gruesome for me sometimes because I'm like, is this like everyone's? Here's the thing: it's like everyone's laughing, everyone's smiling, everyone likes it. I look out to the crowd; they're nodding their heads, they're enjoying it, and I'm like, am I the only one that's not? This is the only thing. It's a fucking 1.5 hour rock paper scissor joke.
Well, see,
Yeah,
and the
really.
thing is
I mean, bro, we started a cult for a chair. What do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's great.
see, but the thing is, for us, because we've done it so many times,
Right.
we know like it could be funnier, it could be better, but for them, this is their one, and this might be their one and only experience for it, and it's the best for them, and they love it.
Well, see,
And
I
that's
like
great.
to compare our panel to like a hit of crack, where if you're not accustomed to getting hits of crack, it's gonna hit you like a truck no matter what.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about
That is a great analogy.
Well, here's the thing about that analogy though is like
we don't have any crack.
We don't have crack.
no.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
We have people who come back.
Correct.
And they every time they come back, they're like, I loved this show.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
unironically, they
unironically
love it.
loved this
And,
show.
and here's the thing, I can see why though.
And it makes me,
Genuinely.
but
Crack
it
addiction works.
it puts
Going
in-
off of your analogy.
it puts into a perspective for me that I am my biggest critic.
Correct.
Yes.
And where you and most
And
people
that
are
is
their own.
that
biggest
that is a
critic.
huge challenge that I think most of us will face
And
is
the-
that we are our biggest critic. I'm like, man, that show fucking blew in my eyes. And I have people coming up asking me to do things like, oh, can you do parties? Can you do this? That show was amazing. Oh my gosh, that was an awesome show. Hey, let me get to know more about you guys. Hey, what's your YouTube again? What's your handles? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, really?
That was
Well,
I
okay,
was-
but like not to derail, but like put it into perspective of the convention itself, where we're maybe
a good point.
we're one of like maybe 2, at most 3 purely entertainment based
fan panels.
panels
Yes.
Yeah.
ever, like in a convention. So for us,
We're like one of the
Our-
only panels that isn't just a Q&A.
correct.
Yes.
So even our worst show
Or a
is
presentation.
generally speaking more entertaining than the other panels just by nature of what it is.
Yeah.
So even our worst show is great
Compared to everything else.
And that's not to diss. Different panels are for different things. Some of them are informational. Some of them are discussion, and that's fine. But like, in terms of like, what are people going to have the biggest impression from?
What's the takeaway?
What's going to stick out the most?
Yeah, they're gonna.
It's
gonna
probably
be
going to be like a comedy show.
Yeah, and I think a thing too is when people are saying it's like cool. This even if they return, that was a great show. That was a great show. Yeah, that show it was great. We haven't had a bad show that turned out bad, didn't do well. They all were great
Yeah,
shows.
even our
That-
worst shows,
yeah.
we have made something
It's like
out
pizza.
of.
Yeah.
Our shows are like pizza. Even bad
It's
shows are good.
But when it's good, it's great.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, we're always going to look at all of them collectively.
Right.
People,
So
they're there for that day, that moment. They're really living
they're not
in
thinking
it.
about how does this compare to the other shows.
Exactly. They don't care about
True.
it. I don't go to
Very
a theater
rarely will
performance and I don't think, oh, I wonder if they did this better, if they sang the song better yesterday. Or I don't go to a symphony and like, I think they could have performed
It's,
this better.
Yeah.
it's
tomorrow.
kind of a similar thing to like musicals where it's like you're going there for like the unique performance of that
Yeah.
version of the musical.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Always good
I
on
never
day
really
2.
think of it like that. I'm always like, okay,
Well, of course not. Yeah.
I'm like, how am
Well,
I?
we
gonna-
always wanted to make it better. We
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
take it to
yeah.
the next step.
Yeah.
We have the overview, big picture perspective on it all, and it kind of is a different perspective from the audience, which
Yeah.
is a much narrower.
And then I mean, that comes back to our question: the
It's
challenges we
Harlem
faced. One of the challenges we're facing is then our own self critique and it's like,
Yes.
our own battle, and it's not like, and luckily it is a collective thing that we're all in together. It's not really just like a one person. We're all able to work on it.
I'm the best.
Um,
Everyone else just needs to get to my level.
but I guess then, so what are some?
Yes. How do I point better, Dan? How do I point better?
Well, you could point the number of times you're supposed to.
Oh,
That would be a
Jared,
start.
Jared, count to 2. 1,
11,
1, 2.
It's not my
Pick number
fault
3, Malone.
when I point in a crowd and people think, "Oh, that's me," and then the person next to them thinks, "Oh, that's me," and they both come
you
up.
got to be like you in the blue.
Sorry.
I say that,
Sorry, I
and
didn't-
still people come up.
I didn't mean to put a vice around your head with this, Jared, but...
My head, it's around my fucking throat.
Oh, well, hey, the guillotine.
So what are some other challenges we face?
So other than
I know how to
arithmetic-
count. I'm sorry if math isn't my strong suit. At least I'm not dyslexic.
It's okay.
Hey!
It's just people who don't know who you're pointing at. So.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's their fault because they're also probably excited. They want to be up there, so they're like, he picked me, finally. And it's just like, oh no,
It's
I wasn't.
honestly never been a problem.
Weirdly enough,
we make it work. Yeah. I guess like from your guys' perspective, since you only saw 2, Matt and Michael.
Right, that's right.
Since you guys were only at 2 of them, of the 2, was there any other like big challenges that you guys saw? Whether if it was like something regarding our preparedness or how the crowd interacted, even if it was just technology-wise.
This motherfucker going into the crowd outside of camera view.
Oh yeah, because now I have a wireless microphone. So yeah.
Yeah, he really
one
got
part of
in
the
thick of
technology
it.
was not keeping up with the other part of the technology.
But the thing is like the audience loved it so much when we did it at C2E2 and ASEN that I was like, I gotta do this again. I gotta keep this up. Because it's like, that's I think one thing that makes it different than other panels. A lot of panels, people are up on the stage, I'm standing there,
It's
I'm talking.
very disconnected.
Now,
Yes.
once I cross that line and
Right.
come into the audience, they're like, whoa, this is a whole new...
That's a good way to
only
immerse.
problem-
That's a good form of
4D.
immersion.
The problem I see with that though is that it also increases the time that you're emceeing. That reduces the time of the play time, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Which is
if
only,
we're already limited on time for the
Correct.
panel, it kind of hurts
which
us there.
which typically there's only 2 things wrong with it: is if we are limited on time, or if the crowd isn't reacting as positively to that unique situation.
Which it's obvious when they aren't reacting to it, so that's neither here nor there. But the time thing, yeah, I mean, sometimes we do a show in an hour, and an hour is just not enough time, but usually we adjust accordingly to that anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as it goes, the way I see it is any improvements we make to the show itself, because really the ultimate thing is like, ideally, we want more people to want to come to the shows,
Yeah.
because that's where we do them.
And we're just recording it kind of as a
just a
like
hey, if
treat.
you want to see this or show somebody that you were in this show, here it is, kind of a thing. Because the recording itself isn't the end goal. We're not recording it as like a Hollywood production.
No, and there might get to a point where we're not able to record it. We might just
And
not be allowed
that's genuinely possible.
Yeah.
And neither
Or
here
we'll
nor
get
there.
someone else to record it for us.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
to. Yeah.
Because
Well,
sometimes,
that's the other thing,
depends
so.
on the con. Like, if they say, hey, we don't want you guys recording it, but we'll record it for you, that's fine then.
Yeah. But that's a lot of other things that could and can happen.
A whole lot of bureaucracy.
Other challenges, I think I've talked about it before. Gen Con was very tricky because the audience did not engage well.
It was a very, very different demographic
Yes.
that we did not...
We anticipated the complete opposite.
Yes, we expected like exuberant enthusiasm. We got a very tepid, very skeptical sort of
a lot of blank
reaction.
faces. And
Yeah,
Right.
Like the fact that like I was like, okay, we're gonna audition for the fighter. Raise your hand. 3 people, and I was like, we're taking 4 people. 3 people raised their hand.
Yeah,
I was
so
like, anyone. One more.
It was
Bueller,
we have talked / planned out just in case something like this would have happened. Like if there was really nothing we could have done, we would have had to been the players.
Yes.
And we talked about that being a possibility.
Yeah.
I've never, with how many people offer to come up or
Normally.
want to come up, typically there's like 8 people that want to do fighter.
Right.
There's like 10, 12 people that want to do mage. There's like 10, 12 people who want to do cleric. Then there's like
Correct.
30 people
for
who want to
villain.
do villain.
Correct.
And I'm like, I've never, ever in a million years would have thought like
We would be short for coup.
we would ever be short for volunteers. The worst part was it was at Gen Con, the heart of
the
D&D.
TTRPG convention.
Yeah, when I was like, everyone's gonna want to do this. Everyone knows how to do this. Because I even asked, like, who hasn't played D&D? And there's only like 2 people.
There was one person.
One person on one day, 2 people on another day.
One lady the first day who didn't ever play D&D. And Anthony's like, well, this show's for you. And someone in the crowd goes, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people? I'm like, you come to this
You
convention.
paid for this show.
Yeah, they paid.
I'm
for that
giving you now an
particular one.
opportunity to
That's like the only
engage in
show
it.
that we did.
We
that
literally
paid.
put in our description that
It was
audience participation.
Audience
participation.
Yeah. And not
And
only
not like a raise your hand and ask a question kind of way. Like, you are part of the show now.
Yeah, and
Get
not
on
only
stage.
that, the wild part of it was like they have like 120 like playing game things at Gen Con.
Correct. People are constantly playing.
Yeah.
They have half of like an entire like gymnasium / like stadium filled with they have an entire football stadium filled with tables where they're running games
They're
that
literally
people can
people-
join for free.
People are literally sitting in the halls playing
Yeah.
card
You
games
know,
with each other.
It is honestly wild that they go to a improv D&D panel and you couldn't get out of fucking like 100 people 4 people to raise their hand.
It was
Not
like,
even
It
3.
was some really bizarre like bystander effect where like everybody was just like, oh well, I'll just wait and see if anybody else volunteers first, and then
I wonder if the
and then nobody volunteered, and then they're like, well, I don't know if I want to volunteer now.
I wonder if the expectation was that we were going to be doing the improv,
Which I don't know how.
but the full description, like if you've gone to a convention and you've seen it on the website, like the short 2 sentences, it was like triple that, and it gave an extra detailed.
The only thing I could think is if they thought that maybe it was more like the 20-sided tavern where it was like a show that they did that because their crowd participation is like a mobile app thing.
Yeah.
So maybe they thought it was something like that, but that would only have been maybe have been like half the crowd at best that thought it was like that.
Yeah, like
And even then, we would have had a
because
QR code
not
ranking.
everybody's heard of the 20-sided tavern, despite the fact.
Look at me. I've never heard of those people.
Ever. I'm just
until you brought them up at a convention.
Right.
I still don't know them. I've never looked into them or looked them up or anything yet.
When they come to Chicago, we should see them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's a cool show. It's a very cool show.
But I will say Gen Con did redeem itself because once the adventure started, and I told them they could heckle, they were all on board, and the audience was participating like crazy.
That was the key part. Like the heckling.
Now that we've started to tell people you can heckle, all the faces light up.
Oh yeah, dude! Crowds fucking love being able to just throw whatever random shit they want on the stage.
Wait, you're telling me I can be an asshole and
you won't get mad at me?
And there would be no repercussions?
Yeah, we're not gonna get kicked out for it. Great.
Yeah. I mean, and that was something we kind of picked up was more participation from the crowd, and I mean, it was as easy as just telling them, "Hey, heckle," and they were like, "Bet,
say less, King."
Yeah, they were like, "Say less."
Right.
All right, so let's go on to our next topic, which is kind of a shout out, also little ad plug maybe. The roles of our sponsors and supporters. We now have. This is the first year of Improv D&D that we've had full Patreon supporters and a sponsorship deal.
Yeah.
With Robert's Nerd Supplies. Everyone check them out. Use code QuestBros, 10% off.
Shameless plug over.
And it's kind of crazy to see the effect it's had on the shows as well, and how it has also helped increase all of those at the same time, if that makes sense.
I mean, I'm still kind of baffled that, wait, you want to pay us money monthly to see our nonsense. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Are you? Why?
Thanks.
Well, because it started technically last year after Fan Expo. We had Chrissy and AB Personality, I believe is her tag.
Yes.
They supported our Patreon, and those were the first 2 we had. And it's like, holy crap. They've now been supporting us for over a year, which is crazy. Thank you, both of you.
But why?
And
Why not?
they're two of the people that purposely went to C2E2 just to see us.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was
They
crazy.
gave
Very
us
cool.
shirts.
Yeah, they made us shirts. Again, amazing. And
They even offered to like upgrade our sign.
yeah, I'm talking
Yeah.
to Chrissy about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like totally, they don't need to do it. And me and Anthony have said multiple times each, like, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do this.
And they only want to help
Yeah.
and support us.
Yeah.
And whether if it, like at Fan Expo, they're like, hey, while you guys are setting up, we can take the sign and we'll go help promote. You guys got handouts? Give us a bunch. We'll hand them out. We'll talk to everyone.
Yeah.
The shirts that we made you, we'll also wear, and we'll keep talking to. And it's like, you're paying us. Like,
Yeah.
I should be paying you.
Are you okay? But,
Why
but,
are you-
Man,
But they just love
is
it so much.
It's heartwarming as fuck.
Yeah.
though.
Dude, it is one of those
Rogue
things.
Eggman.
It is one of those things that it is like almost really like almost like odd because it's like I've seen it done before. I've mentioned how someone I know has paid tons of money to patrons, Kickstarters, etc.
Yeah.
I've done
And-
it.
And I'm like, just for nothing, just to see them succeed,
Right.
you know, and
Like
and
to
it's
have a
like
genuine supporter.
yeah, just to support them to succeed. And it's always kind of baffled me, like, that some people would do that for just nothing.
Right.
And I guess given the right circumstances, I would too. But I've never expect anyone to do it for me.
Right,
You know?
absolutely.
Well, and it's funny,
Ever.
and it's like, but we kind of did because that's why we made a Patreon. Is like,
Well,
we
no,
had to
that was-
say
no,
that.
that
because
was-
like okay, so
was
like
the
the
whole-
the volunteer like sort of aspects. Okay, like a good example when people moderate for like their favorite creator, right? And like they monitor like their discords
chat.
or their chats or whatever. I'm like, what do you get out of this? Like, I can't comprehend how somebody could dedicate so much of their personal time to something like that, but
It's
but
being
they
a part of a community.
but they
Yeah.
do, and they enjoy doing it, and it's just such a selfless act for something you like, and it's
and I mean that's
It's
something
so
that we've
great.
always strived for since the beginning is creating a community for people.
Right. Exactly.
And
Yes.
it's been happening, and as it continues to grow and happen, it's like, wait, hold on,
Wait a
I'm
minute.
not ready for this.
Wait a minute.
But it's only again as it keeps going because then that was a year ago we got 2, and then now we're at I think a total of 6. We've got from ASEN we ended up getting Rogue Eggman, and then we also got I forget their name because it's like 3 different names on 3 different platforms. It's your friend from
Lily.
Lily. Yeah, I was gonna say I know there's
Yeah,
Lily.
Lily.
It is Lily on the end card. So then we also got Lily, and then we got from Fan Expo we got Sam, and then we also got Max.
Yes.
And it's like holy crap, like why? But I would only assume that the more conventions we do, the more it's gonna grow. And they only support us more because then we're able to pay for those handouts to get more people to Improv D&D for stickers and buttons, and eventually when we are getting more of an income, we can upgrade our equipment. We can all be having individual microphones for these podcasts.
I remember, and this will always be heartwarming, what Rogue Eggman said. where-
Oh, dude, anytime I tell it to you guys, I almost cry.
It's so good. He said, "You guys are going to the moon, even if I have to build the rocket." And it's heartwarming.
Dude, I'm gonna get that tatted on me. Like shit.
You guys are going to the
That's some
moon even
real
if I
shit.
have to build
Build
the
the
rocket.
rocket. And it
Oh
was-
my god.
Eggman,
such
if
a
you're-
slick line.
Eggman, if you're listening to this, dude, this is
You're
you're
a
a real
one.
homie, man.
These
It's-
tears are for you.
Yeah.
It goes back to that one phrase, like, it takes a village to raise a
child.
child. Yeah, it takes a community to build performers.
Yeah, and it's crazy just to see how many people enjoy us and want to see us grow. And I'm grateful for every single one of them. Every single one of you listening right now, and maybe that ones that aren't even listening. I'm very grateful for you. If you just came, saw our show, was like, that was interesting, left, never came back to any other one, thank you for coming to that one. And because you guys really make it.
You don't know, you don't understand, like, how lucky we are to have you all as part of our community. We are so grateful.
And now that was the Patreons though, but we can't forget
Robin's
Kelsey and
Nerd
Robin's Nerd Supplies. And how incredibly grateful we are for this sponsorship. And also, she treats us so well.
Dude, she keeps giving us stuff, and it's like, are you okay? Is this good?
It was really funny because we actually turned around and told her, like, you ruined sponsorships for us.
Because no one's going to be at the same level.
No, never.
Nobody's ever gonna.
We're not gonna get free stuff like this.
No one will treat you the way. Not even the free stuff. Just no one will treat you or communicate like the way you do.
Honestly, most sponsorships, based on what I've heard from most creators, most sponsorships kind of freaking suck and are purely a transactional thing with no kind of like camaraderie involved or anything. It's very cold. Basically, you're hoeing yourself out for Raid Shadow Legends or something.
Well, and it helps.
It's just business.
It helps too that Robin's Nerd Supplies isn't a giant corporate.
It's not. It's a small business with some very genuine folks running it, and that makes it all the more worthwhile for us to do it.
No, and
and we, frankly, making the ads is fun.
So me just like, this is me geeking out as a videographer, as someone who does film for my career, my day job, and it's in the government, so like I have to keep a certain image to the government. It's got to be very official. I'm not able to really branch out and get super creative.
You
with
can't
it.
be funny with it.
I can't always be as funny with it, but now. And like, I'm not saying like I couldn't do that with this channel before too, but like we never had a reason to do it. I was like, why are we gonna make a Jehovah's Witness skit for no? There's no point for it.
Why are we gonna make it so Jared looks like he has a gun to his head?
Exactly, like stuff like that, where it's like, what's gonna happen? Why are we doing that? There's no reason. But now we have like a purpose for it, so it pushes Jared creatively to write the scripts, and then it pushes me creatively to then put that script into the camera. Right. And they're so much fun because also it gets all of us involved too.
Right. Yeah.
Whether if it is just very minor roles or if it is more major roles. And they're so fun. They're fun to just look back to, and it's like I love the different styles we're doing, how far we're branching, and now it's just a great portfolio for us too if we ever want more sponsorships.
And it's also a great way for like, okay, we did this. How do we improve upon that, or how do we make callbacks to it?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I've already got the 1 year like anniversary of these planned out, where all the characters are coming back.
See, I have
somehow.
I do have an idea for a skit where it's basically us trying to figure out what to do for a skit.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm thinking. So this is the preview. This is us brainstorming it, basically.
We could bring back the vampire. No, nobody really likes
and then all those characters are coming back. They're like, I could be here. It's like, nah. But we'll talk about that.
It's auditions.
That'd be cool. All right, we'll plan with some other time.
Oh my god,
some other time.
Now we have two versions of the skit.
Keep talking about Robin's Nerd Supplies, too. I also want to
post what you want to see.
Let the audience know, too, like, how often, or not how often, but just, like, what RNS is able to provide us. Like, all of the supplies that we use in our D&D campaign, all of us got a brand new set of dice. We got a bag. We got a dice tower.
Dice trays. And then we also had just purchased dice trays from them. Which, no offense to Robin's Nerd Supplies, but I think mine's cursed. Because I keep rolling no lols.
And I think, like, too, is just because we were able...
Keep rolling low.
We were presenting ourselves so well with our sign...
Over.
And just how well our shows were doing, that they saw like the potential, and it's like, hey, that's a company that knows how to promote and market and just give good quality.
And just in general, the fact that they were willing to
take a chance
with us was very flattering.
Yeah. And I hope it's been worth it for them too, as it is for us.
Yeah, yeah. I certainly hope so. I certainly think so.
And also too, like they gave us, how many dice did we count?
Over 400
over 400 D20s that we were then able to give out to everyone that came to Improv D&D at Gen Con. It was insane. And now we've got more stuffs in the works. I don't even know if I want to say it. Do I say it? Do I keep it a secret?
Yeah, I guess keep it secret.
Oh,
for
yeah,
now.
keep it secret, keep it safe.
But keep it secret.
going.
keep
We've
it
got
safe.
mock-ups coming, baby.
Yeah.
We're getting moccasins. I'm kidding.
And it is nice though, because it's like Robin's Nerds also has given us a lot more confidence to go out and talk to other companies if they are interested in sponsoring us.
I mean, that was basically Gen Con.
That was like the entirety of Gen Con. I mean,
It was network.
it was all about networking, and a lot of those people, I mean, the bigger the company, the less they really cared.
Oh, absolutely,
Honestly.
100%.
In a way. I mean, I'm sure they all would love to have the more
They may
the
not
more
mind
people you
working
reach,
with
the
us,
more
but-
they make money.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is really funny to go there and see, like, hey, are you guys thinking of getting sponsors? No, not really. Well, okay, good luck. You know, and it's
right.
one of those things that it's a very low risk, you know, medium reward kind of thing.
Right.
That is just shocking that more companies don't take advantage of. You know, it's like,
and luckily now we have this portfolio that when those deals come around, or someone's like, all right, what do you have to offer?
We performed in a stadium.
Yeah, we
did.
performed in the stadium.
Technically speaking,
We have stats. We've now been taking attendance for our in-person shows. We have analytics for our online stuff. And then we have all of these videos that are getting lots of interactions from just the giveaways.
yeah.
So us getting sponsored in a way, to me, further legitimized us as kind of like an enterprise. And likewise as well, like just kind of like what effect it's had on us. Well, I mean, okay, so a lot of people, when they get sponsorships, the sponsorships are for things that they personally don't like or wouldn't use. But it is awesome to be like to be sponsored by a company whose stuff I would actually buy.
And that's how it started.
And
We
you
were
like-
buying stuff from them.
Right.
Yeah.
We bought their
Like,
dice trays. We
I
bought
like
dice.
I've seen some of the dice that we do for our giveaways, and I'm like,
I want these.
I want this
This
so
is cool.
bad.
Yeah. And the thing too is like even after we got the sponsorship, we still buy from them. The giant D20.
Yeah, the giant
the
D20.
Omni 20.
The Omni 20 that we bought from them as well. And then I joke anytime I'm at a
That's how
convention,
you look at it with pride.
whether if I'm with you guys, if I'm with Kelly, anytime I'm with anyone, and we're looking at dice, I'm like, you better not buy any of these dice. We have a permanent, like, lifetime discount to get 10% off at Rob's Nerd Supply. You better not be buying other dice.
No, use our code. What are you doing?
It was really funny because Anthony said that at Gen Con, and Kelly goes, "Oh, I'm definitely buying."
Oh yeah, and I was
dice."
like, yeah, because in the panel we were with them, it was about sponsorships, and I was like, just because you have a sponsorship with a dice company doesn't mean you can't also buy dice from another company. And I was like, but I won't though. I will only buy from them. And then Kelsey's like,
I'm
buying
not.
other
She's
dice.
like, I'm gonna go buy some dice this weekend. Like wild.
But no, yeah, I think we all kind of hit that on the head. So thank you again, Kelsey, everyone on her team at Rob's Nerd Supplies.
Thank you to our patrons.
Thank you to our
Thank you to our
patrons.
patrons.
I do want to tell a little story quick from C2E2 that I remembered. Just again about Robin's Nerd Supplies, Kelsey's team. One of the employees there, how nice he was.
They're all really nice.
Well, one, they allowed us to keep. We didn't have a hotel room close, but we had our camera and our tripod. So I was like, I'm gonna ask Kelsey, can we keep it at your booth, like behind, just so we don't have to lug it around? She's like, yeah, no problem. Wow, you're amazing. That's fantastic. And then one of the employees, like working behind the booth, is like, hey, do you want me to help you guys like carry
it to the room.
I was like, we are in the
Wild.
west wing right now.
Yeah,
Our piano room is all the way on the complete opposite side of
Yeah.
the convention. I would say yes, but I don't know if you can leave for that long.
Yeah, I was making jokes that and then they all started making jokes that they just wanted to leave and not be at the.
They're like, please, I haven't
me a
been
break.
They just wanted to see the
hours.
convention too. It's not that they didn't like being at the booth; they just wanted to see.
They just wanted to see everything, but
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I was like, I appreciate it. You're really cool for that, but I'm not going to take you away from Kelsey.
yeah, it's super funny.
Yeah. So again, thank you to everyone on the Robin's Nerd Supplies team. You guys have just made this so cool, and I'm excited for hopefully more collaborations in the future. And again, all of our Patreons, thank you everyone for supporting us, and everyone that will continue to support us.
Especially people on the Discord. You guys are...
Yeah, and even the people that don't support us financially, you guys still keep the community alive.
Yeah, especially like the Discord, pretty lively for what Discords are, at least in my experience.
It's like a better version of Teams.
Yeah.
Microsoft. Comparing Discord to Microsoft Teams.
I mean, it is. It's a better version of Microsoft Teams.
I mean, that's not saying much. It's Microsoft Teams.
All right, to the next point I have, lessons learned. This year was definitely a year of learning, whether it being the most conventions we've done. Again, we did 3 conventions back to back in months, and then 2 conventions back to back in the same month. So we did one in March, April, May, had June, July off, and then 2 in August.
Yeah.
God, the August...
So the lesson learned was don't do that again. At least the 2 in the same month.
Lesson
Definitely
learned.
not that.
Definitely rough.
Make sure people hear me when I point at them.
Yes.
Bringing that one back. Let's go.
Wow, he's gonna dream about that.
Yeah, it's gonna
You
call it
ruined his night.
I'm gonna have nightmares about this.
Sorry, Jer.
I guess from you, Jared, Matt, and Michael, since you guys are not as much in front, is there anything that you guys learned, at least from either your perspective, or learned either for us, for me, Dan and I, that are like, you guys should do X, Y, and Z differently, or keep doing this, or even if it isn't about the performance itself, but it's about the conventions and what to do, where to go, what not to do, how to market it, how to perform, how to talk to people.
I should try harder to be funny during the performances.
Yeah, that is one thing I liked during Gen Con, is that we did mic you.
Yes, so that's been a point of thought for me as well. If they are willing to give us the extra mics and we can interject at certain comedic moments, I think that would be like a way to kind of enhance the show a bit. Because we did that at Anime Magic, which is one of the really small ones we did, where it was a small enough room that I don't know if Jared really interjected much, but I sure as hell did.
Yeah, because that was your first one, too.
I did, and it was small enough that I was just throwing in lines from time to time just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
And it was very, very fun. But so I think like, just to kind of circle back, because we were talking about earlier, the getting involved with the crowd more, like upfront and personal. I think that's fine, because I mean, the crowd fucking loves it, and why wouldn't you? I mean, I wouldn't want to go to anything that's static and stale. So I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's not
Q&A.
Yeah, right.
Kidding.
You do a Q&A.
Matt, what do you think at least is something that we should keep doing? Or unless there is something that you do know that's like... unless there is something that you're like,
going to conventions, I will slap you.
That's a good one, though. We should keep going to conventions.
I mean, that's the obvious thing.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow, we just suck that much, Matt? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, we're that
No,
good.
because I asked him what is something that we should change.
I mean, hell, the only
Something
other
we should
thing
keep
that
the same.
immediately comes to mind is like...
We should keep the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what is something that we're
what
doing
is something
well?
we do above and beyond?
It's partially just my memory, man.
Well, okay,
I'll take it personally.
You are spared the slap.
let me
this
ask
day.
it this. Let me ask it this way: what, to you at least, what is something about Improv D&D that makes it stand out against like any other panel?
It's the same thing that everyone else has already said, that it's basically the only entertainment panel at any convention.
So think about now. Let's compare it to when we saw Penguin Knife Fight, which was an
I
improv,
remember that.
which was an improv comedy that we went to.
Yeah.
How do you think ours compares to something like that? That is just a actual just improv.
I think it's better when you can pull the audience up in front of people and have them and do it
So
rather than
I
just
would
calling on them and having them heckle once or whatever.
Yeah,
Sure.
I would say ours has more interaction than Penguin Knife Fight.
Yeah,
did.
like long-term interaction.
Yes.
So other shows lean more on the predictable and sort of structured avenue of having like a cast, whereas we revel in the chaos of kind of having the audience do what they want.
It's a much better way to put it. Yeah.
And frankly, that's something that's quite unique that I've not really seen in many other shows.
It makes it hard for us to fail.
Well, it does, and likewise as well. I think you've even said this in some of our shows that if it's not funny, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Yes. And there you go. So if you don't like the 2-hour-long Tokonut bit, well, that's on you, buddy.
My favorite was when I said that. I was like, remember, if it's not funny, it's your fault. And then before the show started, I was like, and guys, remember, whose fault is it if it's not funny? And everyone in the crowd goes, yours, at me. And I was like, shit, I did not think about that.
Hilarious.
Honestly,
I actually didn't think about it that way.
It's your fault.
Honestly, we should have that as like a tagline for Improv D&D. If it's not funny, it's your fault.
Yeah.
But
Right.
what I think is how we've improved upon the concept of Improv D&D was we learned from the original that we saw at Amkey, as well as Penguin Knife Fight.
It wasn't even Amkey. It was Wisconsin Comic
Sorry,
Convention.
you were correct.
Yeah.
Wisconsin Comic Convention. It was just the same place.
Same building, yeah.
Same building.
Well, and it was
like,
also...
we took the concepts of both. Like, we took the improv heckling from Penguin Knife Fight and the bare bones of Improv D&D.
Yeah.
We just combined the two.
Yeah, and I want to come back to that for the next point. But when we kind of talk about how we got to where we are.
Oh, yes.
But what were you going to say, Dan?
I was just gonna correct that. Like, weirdly enough, like the one show is unstructured completely, but it was just the bare bones of the game, and the other one, like Penguin Knife Fight, even though it was improv, it felt very scripted.
It was very rigid, yes.
It was a very scripted, funny comedy show.
Well, because it's like, this is the game we're gonna play. And, like, they practice this all the time. They practice these games. So, like, they know kind of what's funny. So, they'll kind of throw the same jokes out because it's a different audience. So, they can say the same thing. Because I think, Matt, you saw them both days.
Penguin Knife Fight?
Yeah.
I think so.
And I think when I asked you about it, too, if, like, say they played 5 improv games. 3 of the 5 were the same games, and then 2 were different. But then of those 3 that were the same, a lot of it was still some of the same jokes. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's, again, what we've learned is like how to always make it different. And for me, a lesson learned, I will say, like, every performance we're learning something.
Yeah.
Right. And it may only be like a small thing here or there, but there's always something.
No, and I'm always trying to find, okay, what can be improved upon?
Right.
How do we take it to the next step? How do we at least keep, if it went great and everything was perfect, how do we keep it at that? And that's why, like, if you come to a lot of our shows, you'll see there's always, at least for me, there's always something a little bit different that I'm doing every time.
Yes.
For even just this year, Anime Milwaukee, let me look quick at the thumbnail. Does that remind me of something? Anime Milwaukee, I didn't take a group photo for the thumbnail.
No.
C2E2, I did. And then also, I got into the crowd. I got interactive with them. Then Anime Central continued doing that because it worked really well. And then we got more people. I was like, let's get a little crazy. Let's get more people up on stage for the villain, for the audition for that. And that ended up being amazing because of that.
Horrible.
Gen Con was more just, I learned that this crowd is tough. But I also then experimented with getting better audio where I had a wireless mic. I gave Jared a mic.
Yes.
Yeah. We were all bricked up. I'm mic'd up.
Well, and then Fan Expo, then we bought the giant D20, and it's like, cool, let's bring a giant D20 for important roles to now interact and give another reason to interact. What do we do next year? Don't know.
I have an idea for the thumbnail.
We'll get back to that. No. What's your idea?
For the group photo, instead of it being like on the stage, we just go have someone take the photo in the back, or like have the camera be.
That could work too. They might be too far away. That's something we can mess with. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely something to learn interactively. Some things work for some crowds, some things don't work for others. Going into the crowd didn't work for this crowd, but it did work for this crowd. This crowd was tougher than this crowd. This crowd react differently to this crowd. This crowd
was really horny. This crowd was not horny at all.
Yeah.
And this crowd was somehow hornier than the last.
Yeah, that's...
So
neither here nor there.
So to kind of branch off slightly, how do you feel people have like sort of engaged after the show in terms of like, okay, so we put up like the QR codes to plug our socials and stuff. All right, how many people out of the crowd of say 150 do you think actually look at it? Because
I can actually
he can pull up the analytics for it, but I'm gonna guess it's about 20%.
Yeah, about 20%. See, that sounds about right.
It's not high.
So if you said 150 people, I'm guessing about 30 have scanned it.
Especially because we are like, hey, subscribe to us so you can get a free whatever. So a lot of people go through the link tree to get to that because it's the quickest way, unless they do just type it into YouTube. I might not be able to because I don't.
It's picking up your fan.
I might not be able to pick up the analytics because I might be too far away at this point, and because I have the free version of it.
It is a weird thing that like
I can only get a week's worth.
Yeah, oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
YouTube gets really weird when people click from our link tree and see us. Then they're like, hold on, that's a red flag. That's why we get shadow banned.
Yeah,
because so many people.
Yeah, and that's one thing I have learned recently about YouTube is very not good for discovery and sort of like getting kind of noticed out of nowhere. It doesn't really lend itself to that, weirdly enough, the way that the system's currently set up.
The algorithm is a bit
true, but
it doesn't.
All over
can't
the
count,
place
it
at
can't.
times.
No,
Well,
like subscribe to them.
And it's tough.
It's weird that we've had
your
17
other alternatives
views
aren't
and
really
10
much
clicks
better.
No.
in this
Like,
one where
you
we
know,
didn't have.
Yeah, you could maybe try like
So,
Twitch or something.
Hold on, go back to it. Let's share some of these. So this month, which we didn't have a panel, we have 17 views and 10 clicks on our link tree.
Huh?
It might be because on our Instagram, that's how you get to our videos. Like the post will be like, here's the thumbnail. To get to the link to this video, go to the link tree in our bio.
Yeah, could be.
And then I put the video as like the first thing.
It's very funny. But lifetime is actually
Like over 1,000
Yeah.
views on the link tree.
yeah, and about 1,000 clicks.
Yeah.
So, well, how many people did we have this year? What's the stats for that?
About 1,500.
No.
So only 500 at least didn't click in it. Well, no, we've also had this link tree for a lot longer than a year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So 1,500. So probably close to 300 to 400 people have used our link tree this year,
In some way, shape, or form.
from our panels. So
Yeah,
yeah, a good
almost
20%.
One person a day. It's almost one person a day for the entire year.
Yeah. But some of those could have been the same people, too.
Also true.
Nope.
But dare
that,
to dream,
that
believe.
didn't happen.
Dare to believe, Anthony. Dare to believe.
So yeah, it's safe to say about 20% of people in our show. So if we have a show of 200 people, about 40 of them will click on our tree, check us out, do etc. Maybe even subscribe and join the quest.
Yeah.
Which you should also
Yeah.
do at this video right now.
So I guess, the lessons learned are really just always... It's not even learn from your mistakes, but, like, always be open and willing to learn from every single experience we have. Like, every experience is a learning
I would
experience.
say it's kind of hard not to either. Like, even if you don't want to, you're gonna ultimately come away with something just based on how something went.
Learn from your
It's the
victories
creative
and your
process.
defeats.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to part 1 of our reflection on Improv D&D in 2024. We'll continue the conversation in the next episode, so be sure to check back for part 2, where we'll discuss the difference between the types of cons, and we'll look back at the history of Improv D&D. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye!